Two teams desperate for a win meet under the dome lights on Halloween night. But which ghost of losses past will finally be exercised? I'm your host, Nathan Johnston, alongside Brad Hopkins. It's time to break the huddle. Brad, a very intriguing matchup here on Halloween night as we will break it down live for you Friday night for Break the Huddle After Dark, providing live commentary and analysis with a few special guests. Obviously, North Carolina has been atrocious this year, 2-5, 0-3, and they go back and forth with the quarterback between Lopez, Max Johnson. Now they're back to Lopez at Syracuse, who had what we would consider, I think, higher promises in the SEC this year. Yeah. Obviously, their quarterback goes down against Clemson with a Achilles injury, and their season has kind of been on a downward trend ever since. And I hate that for Syracuse because they're pretty dang talented. 3-5, 1-4, and they meet up on ESPN, like I said, October 31st, Friday night at 7:30 p.m. You know, we talk about UNC's losing 4 straight, 2 heartbreakers. I saw the one against Cal. Probably should have won that game by 10, in my opinion. And then Syracuse collapsing since the Clemson win. They lose their quarterback. Let's break it down. Which team's trending up and which is just a trick or treating through the rest of the schedule? No pun intended there. But let's look at Syracuse first. Let's look at their offensive breakdown. 384 yards per game, ranked 62nd in the nation. And then you look at strong air attack, 285 through the air, ranked 21st. But ground game has struggled, only 112. And, you know, Rickie Collins is a dual threat guy, but he's struggled. He's shown flashes of what he can do, but he just hasn't gone over that hump. Steve Angeli still leads the team even though he's been injured. That's not good. Running back Yasin Willis, only 430-something yards, 4 touchdowns on the year. Steady, but needs more touches. And then Jonte Cook, he's a very underrated wide receiver.
He's a Texas transfer.
That's right. 500 yards and only 2 touchdowns. Breakout threat on the perimeter. And then the defensive issues just continue to go on, which surprises you with a head coach like Fran Brown.
Right.
Giving up over 430 yards per game, ranked 124th out of 136. Allowing 31 points per game, ranked 116th. I think the key storyline for this one, Brad, is Syracuse hasn't recovered since losing Angeli mid-Clemson game. Offense hasn't topped 20 points since. Where does Syracuse go from here?
At this point, I think you got to continue to roll with Rickie Collins. Mm-hmm. You know, he was a pretty highly rated guy coming out, and I mean, it's kind of do or die with him. And you know, it's a Syracuse team that they've got some talent. Obviously, they beat Clemson. I know that Tennessee put some points on them, but honestly, they hung tough with Tennessee. So I just think it's a team, you know, it shows you how valuable a starting quarterback is. And they're trying to figure things out. You know, an up and down offensive line. They're talented on the outside. And you know, you brought a good point. You know, it surprised you a little bit how much they struggled on defense with a defensive minded head coach like Fran Brown. But, you know, you got to think some of that is when the offense just continues to, you know, just not produce, a defense is going to get worn down and tired eventually, and they're going to break. So I think for Syracuse, you know, stay patient, keep the course, and
try to make a bowl.
Try to make it. I mean,
they're still in contention.
Absolutely. That's a good point. 6-6 is not out of the question. It's not where they want to be. You know, going into the season, they were kind of, I won't say a dark horse for me, but I thought they once again could make some noise, and they haven't done it, but the season's not over yet for them.
No, it's not. They're currently, I think I said, 3-5 right now. So yeah, it's not the best record. You can still finish strong with a bowl game. Mm-hmm. And listen, if you can continue to stack win upon win, in that bowl game, in my opinion, this year, after what you've endured with Steve Angeli getting hurt, is a win in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, Fran Brown's a guy that I know we both really like, you know, and we were talking off camera, you know, about all the coaching madness. You know, I think Fran Brown's name is probably cooled a little bit. I don't think that's necessarily fair because he's had to deal with some stuff that, you know, you don't anticipate losing a starting quarterback. But I think Fran Brown's a really, really good head coach. And like I said, I still think Syracuse can get to a bowl, and you mentioned it, getting to a bowl with just the turmoil they've had would be a huge win for them.
And we talk about this a lot, having those extra 3 weeks of practice heading into the off season.
Very good point.
In the case for Syracuse, I think this is very, very helpful if they can become bowl eligible.
And it allows young guys to get more reps and playing time in a bowl game, because it allows your early high school enrollees a chance to get a little taste. So it's valuable. It's a development thing.
It's massive. And for a team like Syracuse and Fran Brown, next year is going to be the pinnacle. I think when you look at Syracuse, that'll be year 3 for Fran Brown. So listen, this is something to build upon, and they don't need to shy away from it. Let's talk about North Carolina on the other hand. Man, dead last nationally in total offense, which just shocks you with a coach like Bill Belichick. One of those teams that would like to become bowl eligible. Don't know if it's possible at this point. Yeah. You look at the quarterback situation, though. Gio Lopez came in from South Alabama with, I wouldn't say high expectations, but a pretty solid, good quarterback.
He was very, very good at South Alabama last year. Nate, you look, I think it's had a direct impact because South Alabama is struggling this year. He has not played up to expectations, and I don't think it's all him. I think there's a lot going on in that program, but he's a good player. He's better than what the numbers show, I think.
No doubt about it. When you look at the numbers, 805 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. He shows flashes, Brad, but turnovers and red zone inefficiency at 76% is killing drives. I saw against the Cal plenty of opportunities to get down the field and put up 6, and they just couldn't finish. Right. They couldn't finish.
Talking about Bill Belichick and his staff, Freddie Kitchens, his offensive coordinator, who he's bounced around college, somebody he's bounced around the NFL. I can't put my finger on it. It's a mess there.
The defense quietly improving. 345 yards per game allowed, ranked 50th, so not the worst. Run defense ranked 25th nationally, only at 110, so that's good.
Yeah.
And when you go up against a team like Syracuse who's struggling in the run game, well, chances are you match up pretty favorably against a team like that. They held Cal and Virginia both under 300 yards. Listen, we know how good Virginia has been this year under Elliott.
That's a win. I know North Carolina didn't win it.
Yeah.
But that's a win.
And they should have won.
Right.
It came down to a 2-point conversion at the end of the game.
Right. And that's honestly in a dark season, that's a little bit of a positive for North Carolina that they were able to keep in check a good Virginia offense.
Only allowed 31 points combined in the last 2 regulation weeks. They're improving.
They are. There's some glimpses there.
Brad, that stat jumps out. UNC's defense is playing winning football, but their offense just isn't rewarding them. And you talked about it earlier. When your offense isn't going, your defense is out on the field way too much, and you get exhausted. Third, fourth quarter comes around, and you're just exhausted.
I wonder, and this is really just, an outside opinion. I haven't watched North Carolina a ton. I obviously probably the most I watched them was that Labor Day game against TCU where they got blown out. To me, it shows that North Carolina is struggling with an identity on offense. They don't know who they want to be. Obviously, I've said it, you said it, Rooster has said it, when you have 2 quarterbacks, you have 0. And I'm not saying that I think Gio Lopez is the guy, but because of injury and everything, they've had to go back to Max Johnson. But to me, settle on one and let it ride. Yeah. Take your lumps, take your turnovers, take your, deficiencies. Let them play football. North Carolina, they're 2-5, so 5 more games left. Find out who you are. If this staff is going to be there next year, which we don't know, we've got a month left, but try to find an identity and let it go. To me, Nate, you have a chance to maybe do some of that Friday night against a Syracuse defense that is you can get at them. You got to try to start finding that identity, though.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, if they can get a road win on Friday night, that's a huge momentum builder going into the last few games of the season for this Carolina team. I forget who they played the last game. Do they play NC State? Correct me if I'm wrong. That's usually the rivalry that they play at the end. But either way, this is a massive, massive road game. When we look at keys to victory and X factors for this game, Brad, first off, Syracuse, protect the football. UNC thrives off of takeaways. Now, can their offense execute? That's the question to remain. Get Willis going early, slow the tempo, and that could offer and offset that poor defense, right? Then avoid long third downs. Bottom 20 in FBS conversion rate on third downs. Not good for Syracuse's offense. And listen, they've had their ups and downs. They've had their struggles, but they've got to get something going here against a wounded North Carolina team. Well, on the other hand, for North Carolina, keys to victory, red zone execution, they rank 116th in FBS, Brad. They've got to finish drives. I saw that 2 weeks ago against Cal. I saw that last week against Virginia. It blows my mind. Gio Lopez needs to trust his arm, not his legs. And then the X factors, time of possession. North Carolina ranks 117th at just 28 minutes per game. Can they sustain long drives enough to keep their defense fresh? Because we talked about this time and time again. Their defense is struggling, but yet it's improving. Right. And that tells you, okay, offensively, we got to figure it out, because if we don't, our defense is going to be worn down by the fourth quarter. Halloween environment, a dome crowd. We don't talk about this enough, but listen, over the last several years, Syracuse's home field advantage plays a role. It's loud, it's rowdy, it's Friday night, Halloween. Expect there to be a lot of great costumes, including here at Break the Huddle. We will all be wearing Halloween costumes on set, so excited for everyone to see those. Yes, 2 out of 3 are college football related, just so you know, Brad. So if you're a college football fan, you'll understand it. If not, well, we've got some answers to give in the comments. Spooky upset potential, though, for North Carolina. Brad, what do you think about these X factors going into the game?
Yeah, I think the big one that stands out to me is, and you've highlighted that a couple times, North Carolina's got to finish. They are moving it, but they're not getting points on the board, and they're not doing it at a high level, and that's not a winning recipe.
I think they got to finish out with a bowl game.
I agree with that.
And I would say the same for Syracuse. Absolutely. And that brings us into our final takes. Listen, both teams fighting for bowl eligibility. We can't emphasize that enough. Yes, your season didn't go the way you wanted it to, but can you finish out strong, right? You've got 3 weeks left of 3 or 4 weeks left to play. 4 weeks, yeah. Can you finish strong? Loser's season is basically done at this point, Halloween night. Expect a scrappy, low-scoring grind. And listen, Rooster said, and his video will be out this week. Shout out Rooster, our betting expert for Break the Huddle. He's expecting a low-scoring game, too. He took the under in this one. Yeah. So expect a low-scoring game. Brad, I'll turn it over to you. Score prediction and who comes out on top in Syracuse, New York.
Yeah, I'm going to make this really, really short. I'm going to take Syracuse in this one. I think Rickie Collins finds a little bit of momentum. I like Jonte Cook to have a big game. I think the big thing is Fran Brown's going to have that defense. I think he's going to get them playing. And I just think North Carolina, Nate, I just think their inability to score in the red zone costs them. Give me the orange in this one.
Yeah, this is going to be a low-scoring game, in my opinion. I really hope it's not a boring game, but it could be, right? You just never know what you're going to get with these Friday night matchups. We saw this past week, me and my Uncle Buck were on the call. Shout out Uncle Buck, our rules expert for Break the Huddle. We weren't expecting much for that game. And next thing you know, it's going into double overtime. We're taking our shirts off with the rest of the crowd. Fun stuff. But then you have other weeks like West Virginia, BYU, when we called it a complete blowout. Yeah. So this game to me is either going to go one of two ways. Either it's going to be a 17-14 game or it's going to be like a 38-35 game. Either way, give me Syracuse. I think they win in a close one. I think North Carolina does keep it competitive. I think they finally found that stride. Yes, they're looking for their identity still, but I think they've gained a lot of confidence. I just don't think it's going to be enough for Fran Brown and this defense. Listen, say what you want about their defense struggling. They've got some excellent secondary players coached by the best secondary coach at Georgia, Fran Brown, who's now the head coach at Syracuse. Give me Syracuse in a close one, but I think in the end, it's going to be scrappy, man. It's going to be fun. It's Halloween in the Dome. One team's getting resurrected. The other's getting buried, so to speak, with the spooky theme. We'll see you Friday night for Break the Huddle After Dark. Be sure to drop your score prediction down below and be sure to hit that subscribe button. Help us to get to 1,000 subs. We really appreciate all the support so far. Got a very special guest coming on the show Friday night. I'm not going to mention it, but it's already been confirmed. You're not going to want to miss out. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you know when we go live 7:30 on Friday night, Halloween night, after your kids are all candied up. Turn on the game and join us for Break the Huddle After Dark. We'll see you then. It's time to Break the Huddle.